Good morning. I am Charlotte White, the Brand and Digital Media Specialist of ICRP, working with the Scientific Secretariat in Ottawa, Canada. My role is to rebrand ICRP and help create digital content that will engage and educate the public about radiological protection. For example, I designed this very website for the ICRP International Conference on Recovery After Nuclear Accidents. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Jacques Lochard, the Vice Chair of the Commission, who is also a professor at Nagasaki University, teaching radiological protection, risk management, and risk communication. Jacques, could you tell us a few words about your main role at ICRP and your role in the preparation for this conference?
Good morning, Charlotte. As Vice Chair of the Commission, I am working close to the Chair, Claire Cousins, and the Scientific Secretary, Chris Clement, to assist them on the operation of the Commission. It is a large family with 240 members, 4 committees, 30 working groups, about 30 committee groups. And there are many decisions to be prepared all year round for the meetings of the main Commission. Of course, I also contribute to the development of the recommendations, which are the raison d'être of the Commission. Over the past decade, I've been involved in topics related to the ethical foundation of the radiological protection system and its practical implementation. I was also very busy with the development of the new recommendations on the protection of people and the environment in the event of a nuclear accident in relation with the Fukushima dialogue. Post-accident management is in fact a subject which I've been working on for almost 30 years, first in Chernobyl in the early 90s and over the last decade in Japan. As for the conference, the Commission asked me to chair the program committee. For this, I had to contact many people and organizations to invite them and also to exchange views with experts on the theme to be addressed in the various sessions of the program. Initially, it was planned to hold the conference in Fukushima Prefecture, precisely in Tomioka Town and Iwaki City, but the COVID-19 pandemic led us to organize it online, which did not facilitate, as you can imagine, the preparation. Obviously, all this work was done in cooperation with many colleagues whom I would like to thank warmly for their help and contribution during the preparation.
Thank you for the clarification. Could you tell us what guided you in building the program?
My main concern was to find a balance between, on one side, the scientific and technical aspects and challenges associated with the recovery process after a nuclear accident, and on the other side, what I like to call the human and societal dimensions of the accident. The Chernobyl accident had already shown us that these human and societal dimensions are very important. But at that time, they were dominated by the health impacts of radiation, and we could say that they faded in the background. While for Fukushima, given the very limited impact of radiation on health, thanks to the adoption of the early protective actions, interest has progressively focused on the indirect consequences on health, society, environmental aspects, also economic, but also cultural dimensions, which have proved to be considerable and lasting. On the technical level, there are of course the many technical challenges of dismantling the damaged reactors, notably in Chernobyl with the construction of the sarcophagus, and in Fukushima with the management of the radioactive water which accumulates on the site. This last aspect also raises complex societal issues, which will, of course, be addressed in the conference. In the affected areas, in Chernobyl, like in Fukushima, The key issue has been the preservation of agriculture and moreover of fishing in Japan, not to mention the large-scale decontamination, which beyond its technical aspect also is raising many societal and economic challenges. Beyond the reminder of the consequences of a nuclear accident, it was important for me that the program shed also light on the role of social actors in the recovery process. And first of all, the role of the residents of the affected areas. Those who have decided to live and work there have to face many unknowns and obstacles. I am thinking in particular of the discrimination they are subjected to. Under these conditions, we must pay tribute to their determination to restore good and decent living conditions for them and their children. There are, of course, those who have been evacuated, who have decided not to return home, or who are still hesitant. They are not directly involved in the recovery process, but they are part of this human dimension that I'm talking about. In total, there will be about 20 speakers and panelists, local authorities, professionals, and also residents, high school students, farmers, retired people, who live and work in the Fukushima prefecture, who will testify in the various sessions. That was important for me that we hear their voice, telling us about the past, what they lived at the time of the accident, but also the current situation, and also what they think about the future. Finally, I hope that the conference will indirectly reflect the points that characterize ICRP publication, the forthcoming ICRP publication 146, which will be published at the time of when the conference takes place, and which has mobilized, this publication is on the protection of people and the environment in case of a nuclear accident. And this publication mobilized a lot of energy over the past 7 years in Fukushima, Japan, and in foreign countries, involving, of course, Japanese colleagues from the CIS countries, and members of ICRP.
To end our brief interview, I would like to know what you expect from the conference.
Being an optimistic by nature, I really hope that the conference will be more than an inventory of the experience accumulated so far on the recovery process after a nuclear accident, both in Chernobyl and Fukushima, but that it will contribute in highlighting the scientific and technical challenges which remain to be met, the current and societal consequences of the accident, and of course, also to initiate a reflection on the future of the affected areas and the lessons in case of future accidents. I wish that the ideas and proposals, which inevitably will emerge during the course of the conference, will be taken up and discussed on the future of the affected areas, but also on emergency and recovery preparedness in case of future accident. I would be very satisfied if in the months and years to come, the idea of the conference would feed a dialogue between all stakeholders on the future of the affected areas, contributing to improving their daily life. This is why I wanted the conference to result in a final declaration, opening up perspectives for the years to come. Of course, I regret that the COVID-19 pandemic deprives us of the direct exchanges, without speaking about intellectual effervescence and the conviviality that normally characterize a conference as the one we have prepared. We are approaching the 10th anniversary of the Fukushima accident and the 35th anniversary of Chernobyl. it seems to me important that the experience of those who lived the consequences of these two major events, which deeply marked the second half of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st, remains a living source of inspiration for shaping the decisions of the present and the forthcoming generation. In fact, nothing would be more distressing if these two accidents move away from us in the resignation and oblivion, and especially the abandonment of those who were directly affected in their native lands.
Thank you so much for joining me, Jacques, and for shedding more light on how exciting this conference will be.
Thank you, Charlotte. It was a pleasant moment with you, and I really hope the conference will be successful. Thank you very much.